My brother, my sister, some of the worst problems in your life didn't come from enemies, destiny, or fate. They came from your own mouth. You spoke when you should have stayed silent. You revealed what Allah told you to keep hidden. You argued when silence would have protected you. You trusted people who were never meant to hear your secrets. You announced blessings that weren't ready. You reacted in anger when patience would have saved you. And now you're hurt, confused, and wondering why everything feels heavy. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Allah already commanded you to control your tongue. You just refuse to listen. This reminder isn't about silence. It's about survival, spiritual, emotional, and personal. Silence, my brother, my sister, is not always about staying quiet. It is about knowing when Allah wants you to pause, when your next word could either elevate you or destroy you. There are times when speaking becomes a form of disobedience, not because what you're saying is haram, but because Allah is testing whether you can hold yourself back. He is testing whether you can control your tongue before it controls your destiny. You have to understand something very clearly. Allah knows what your heart is carrying, what your mind is wrestling with, and what your tongue is ready to spill. Sometimes He places a heaviness in your chest to stop you from saying something that could harm you later. But instead of recognizing it as protection, you treat it as a burden and you push your words out anyway. And that is where the damage begins. Silence for the sake of Allah is not weakness, it is strength. It is discipline. It is knowing that you don't need to win every argument, you don't need to respond to every attack, and you don't need to explain yourself to every person. When you choose silence, you are choosing clarity over chaos. You are choosing your akhirah over a moment of ego. You are choosing dignity over impulse. Sometimes silence is the shield Allah gives you. You may not notice it immediately, but later you'll see how many problems never entered your life simply because you held your tongue. You avoided gossip that would have stained your heart. You avoided an emotional response that would have destroyed a relationship. You avoided revealing something that someone could have used against you. You protected your peace without even realizing it. Your silence is not empty. It is an act of worship. It is a moment where you submit your emotions, your anger, and your reactions to Allah. It is you saying, Ya Allah, I could speak, but for your sake, I choose not to. And when you do that, Allah replaces what you held back with something far better: wisdom, patience, inner strength, and a cleaner heart. You don't always need to speak to be heard. Sometimes Allah hears you the loudest when you stay silent for Him. You think people care as deeply as you do. You think they're listening with sincerity, holding your words with gentleness, guarding your secrets the way you would guard theirs. But the reality is far harsher. Most people are not equipped to carry your pain, your plans, your weaknesses, or your dreams. And yet you hand these things over so casually, thinking you're just sharing or venting, when in truth you're giving people access to parts of your life they were never meant to see. You must understand, not every ear deserves your voice. Not every person has the maturity to handle your vulnerability. Some people listen only so they can repeat your words to the next person. Some listen to judge you. Some listen to store your mistakes as evidence for the future. Some listen with jealousy simmering quietly inside them, and some don't listen at all. They simply wait for their turn to speak. When Allah tells you to guard your tongue, it's not only about avoiding sin, it's about protecting your heart from the wrong audience. You think by speaking you're releasing your burden, but many times you're transferring that burden to someone who will use it against you, twist it, misunderstand it, or spread it. You think you're trusted, when in reality you're exposed. Your thoughts are precious. Your experiences are delicate. Your worries are personal. Not everyone has earned the right to stand at the door of your heart. And the moment you speak too freely, you give people a kind of power over you that they never deserved in the first place. How many times have you regretted telling someone your good news? How many times did your excitement turn to envy in their eyes? How many times did your private struggle become a public conversation? How many times did your honesty become gossip? Your vulnerability become entertainment? You keep assuming everyone around you has pure intentions. They don't. Some do, but many don't. And Allah, in His wisdom, teaches you to speak carefully, because He knows what you cannot see: the hidden jealousy, the subtle resentment, the quiet insecurity, the unspoken competition. When you stay silent, you are not pushing people away. You are protecting what Allah has given you. You are keeping your blessings unexposed. You are guarding your wounds while they heal. You are maintaining dignity that speech would have shattered. Silence does not isolate you. It elevates you. It allows you to function without constantly being misinterpreted, judged, or misunderstood. Think of the most peaceful moments in your life. They were usually moments where your tongue was calm, your heart was guarded, and your mind was not entangled in people's opinions. The more you speak, the more you invite unnecessary energy into your world. And the more unnecessary energy you allow, the more complicated your life becomes. Keep your circle small, keep your words fewer, keep your heart guarded. People don't need to know everything. They don't need your private thoughts to respect you. They don't need your struggles to empathize with you. And they certainly don't need your dreams to help you reach them. You owe your honesty to Allah first, not to people. And when you learn to give your secrets to the one who never betrays, you'll stop feeling the urge to explain yourself to those who were never meant to understand you in the first place. You keep wondering why certain people suddenly changed, why relationships shifted, why someone who once smiled at you now carries a quiet bitterness. And you assume it's life, destiny, misunderstandings, anything but yourself. But sometimes the truth is painfully simple. Your own tongue created your own enemies. You don't realize how quickly words travel. You don't realize how deeply they cut. You don't realize how easily they expose you. Many of the conflicts, tensions, and betrayals in your life didn't appear out of thin air. They were planted by things you said without thinking, words spoken in excitement, frustration, pride, or vulnerability. You shared your blessings too early, before they were stable. You exposed your plans before Allah had completed them. You admitted your weaknesses in front of people who were not strong enough to respect them. You discussed your private matters with people who only pretended to care. And each time you spoke without wisdom, you put another brick into a wall that eventually separated you from those very people. People are unpredictable. Some will support you, some will encourage you, but many will begin competing with you the moment they hear something good is coming your way. Others will quietly resent you. Others will wait for the right moment to undermine you. And some will smile at you while planning to use your own words against you later. Your tongue, when unguarded, gives people exactly what they need to turn into enemies, not because Allah wrote enmity between you, but because you handed them the material. Think about how many times you suffered because you opened your mouth too soon. Think about the job, the opportunity, the relationship, the project you announced prematurely. Think about the friend you trusted with your fears only to hear your own words echoed in a room you never entered. Think about how someone twisted your sentences just enough to paint you differently. If you had stayed silent, half of your heartbreak wouldn't exist. Even the Prophet ﷺ taught us that strength is not in physical power, it's in controlling your emotions. And your tongue is the first place those emotions show. When your heart gets hot, your tongue becomes reckless. And when your tongue becomes reckless, your life becomes unstable. Enemies rarely form from silence. They form from information you provided, words you didn't filter, opinions you blurted out. Secrets you shared, thinking no harm will come from this, but harm came, it always does. This is why Allah teaches you to guard your speech, not to make you paranoid, but to make you wise. Your silence closes doors that shouldn't be opened. It hides your blessings from the eyes that can't handle them. It prevents people from entering spaces in your life they have no business occupying. You need to stop assuming everyone will understand your heart. They won't. Stop assuming people will interpret your intentions correctly. They can't. Stop assuming your honesty guarantees loyalty. It doesn't. Let people wonder. Let them speculate. Let them stay out of your inner world. When you speak less, you give people less to judge, less to twist, less to react to, and less to use. When you stay silent, your dignity stays intact. When you stay silent, your enemies stay confused. When you stay silent, Allah becomes the one who represents you. And that is a far safer position than letting your tongue do the fighting for you. You underestimate how much trouble your tongue creates long before you ever notice it. You think sins begin when the action happens, when the gossip is spoken, when the argument explodes, when the trust is finally broken. But almost every spiritual wound, every damaged relationship, every emotional regret starts much earlier with one unnecessary sentence, one careless response, one moment where you chose emotion over wisdom. You don't see the ripple effect because it starts small. A harmless comment becomes a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding becomes offense. Offense becomes anger. Anger becomes distance. Distance becomes resentment. And resentment becomes a broken connection that cannot be repaired. But all of it began with one moment where silence would have saved you. Backbiting never begins with hatred. It begins with a casual, pointless conversation. Arguments never begin with rage. They begin with a simple reply that didn't need to be said. Betrayal never begins with malice. It begins with sharing something that should have remained private. Every major mistake in speech is born from a small, avoidable one. This is why Allah emphasizes your tongue so heavily, because the smallest sins can grow into consequences that take years to clean up. One sentence can destroy trust that took a decade to build. One heated reply can end a friendship. One careless comment can create a rift in a family. One complaint can ruin someone's reputation. One emotional outburst can stain your own. If you pause just for a moment, you avoid a lifetime of regret. When you pause, your anger cools. When you pause, your mind clears. When you pause, the conversation shifts. When you pause, Shaitan loses his opportunity. When you pause, Allah protects you. But when you speak instantly, emotionally, impulsively, you hand over control of your life to your feelings. And feelings are terrible decision makers. How many sins would disappear from your record if you simply stopped yourself for 3 seconds before responding? How many arguments would never escalate? How many relationships would still be intact? How many nights of guilt would you have avoided? How much dignity would you have preserved? Silence is not the absence of speech, it is the presence of wisdom. It is the ability to recognize that not every thought deserves a voice, not every emotion deserves expression, and not every situation requires your comment. You must understand, silence does not make you irrelevant, it makes you respected. People trust the one who speaks less but speaks wisely. People fear the one who does not react emotionally. People value the one who chooses their words with purpose and restraint. And more importantly, Allah loves the one who guards their tongue, because that person is guarding their heart, their relationships, and their akhirah. If you control your tongue, you will control your life. If you fail to control it, it will control you and it will humiliate you. Silence is not weakness. Silence is prevention. It protects you from sins you cannot see, consequences you cannot predict, and damage you cannot repair. You need to hear this clearly. Not every emotion inside you deserves to come out of your mouth. You feel something intensely and you think expressing it will solve it. But most of the time, speaking in the heat of an emotion doesn't heal anything, it simply exposes you. It exposes your impatience, your frustration, your insecurity, your hopes, your fears, your wounds, and not everyone around you has the maturity, compassion, or purity of heart to handle what you're feeling. Allah gives you emotions as a test. They are not commands. Feeling angry does not mean you must speak angrily. Feeling hurt does not mean you must reveal your pain to people who won't value it. Feeling happy does not mean you must announce it to those who cannot celebrate it sincerely. A wise believer distinguishes between what they feel and what they express. A reckless believer confuses the two, and their tongue ends up creating problems that never needed to exist. Think about how many times you regretted the words you said during anger. Not because they were false, sometimes they were true, but because they were spoken with no mercy, no control, no wisdom. Once words leave your mouth, you cannot pull them back. You cannot erase the impact. You cannot undo the damage. A moment of emotional expression becomes a permanent wound for someone else and a lifetime of regret for you. And it's not only anger. Even joy can betray you. When you announce your achievements, your good news, your dreams too loudly, too quickly, too openly, you attract attention that does not come with blessings. Some people will fake happiness. Some will stay silent. Some will congratulate you while their hearts tighten with jealousy, and some will quietly hope you fail. Your emotions may be pure, but their reactions are not. This is why Allah teaches you to guard your tongue, because your emotions are temporary, but the consequences of your words are not. When you're overwhelmed, silence becomes a form of protection. It gives you time to breathe, to think, to let your heart settle. It prevents you from speaking in a way you will apologize for later. It prevents you from revealing things you should have kept between you and Allah. It prevents you from reacting with weakness instead of responding with strength. Silence is not suppression. It is strategy. It's choosing the right moment instead of the loudest one. It's learning to process your emotions privately so you don't project them publicly. It's recognizing that your heart needs time to stabilize before your tongue gets involved. A believer who learns this becomes unshakable. They don't get dragged into drama. They don't panic. They don't embarrass themselves. They don't destroy relationships. They don't expose their struggles to the wrong people. And here's the deeper truth. Silence makes your dua stronger. When you take your emotions to Allah before taking them to people, Allah strengthens you in ways that no human can. He calms what you feel. He guides what you think. He corrects what you assume. He softens what you harden. He sets your heart right before your mouth ever opens. And when your speech finally comes out, it comes out with wisdom, clarity, and purpose, not confusion and desperation. You must outgrow the habit of reacting emotionally. You must become someone whose tongue is controlled by their principles, not their impulses. Your silence during emotional storms is not weakness, it is mastery. It is the sign of someone who knows Allah is watching, Allah is protecting, and Allah is testing. The strongest believer is not the one who never feels. It is the one who feels deeply, but speaks only when those feelings have been purified by patience, clarity, and faith. You need to understand something most people never realize until life has already bruised them. Your silence is one of the greatest shields Allah gives you. It protects you in ways you cannot see, from dangers you don't recognize, and from people you wrongly trust. You think protection comes from strength, confidence, or loudness, but Allah often protects you through quietness, through stillness, through withholding your words, through closing your lips at crucial moments. Sometimes Allah protects you from jealousy by keeping you quiet. Sometimes He protects you from betrayal by making you feel uncomfortable sharing certain things. Sometimes He protects you from harm by giving you a sudden sense of hesitation when speaking. And sometimes He protects you from heartbreak by guiding you to silence when your emotions are boiling. But instead of seeing that as divine protection, you override it with your own impulse. You know that feeling when your heart tells you, don't say this, but your ego tells you, just say it. When your conscience whispers, keep this between you and Allah, but your frustration says, let me explain myself. Every time you ignore that inner restraint, you tear through the very shield Allah placed around you. Your silence is not empty. It contains wisdom you haven't understood yet. When Allah restricts your tongue, He is often saving your dignity. When He delays your response, He is protecting your heart. When He makes you pause, He is preventing regret. When He keeps you quiet, He is hiding you from the evil eye of people who smile but don't want good for you. Not all protection comes through angels. Sometimes it comes through silence. You have no idea how many disasters you avoided simply because you didn't speak. How many arguments died because you stayed quiet. How many betrayals never happened because you didn't reveal your weakness. How many jealous hearts stayed calm because you didn't brag about your blessing. How many sins you escaped because you refused to say what your anger pushed you to say. Most people think harm comes from enemies. They're wrong. Harm often comes from the people you trust the most because they're the ones you speak to the most. And the more you speak, the more ammunition you leave lying around, waiting for someone to pick it up when the time suits them. Your silence protects you from all of that long before you even know you needed protection. Think about it. The biggest regrets in your life came from speaking, not from staying quiet. You never said, I wish I hadn't stayed silent during that argument. But you have said, why did I say that? Why did I react that way? Why didn't I think before I spoke? Your tongue drags you into trouble far faster than your actions. And Allah knows this. That's why He commands you to guard your tongue more than your wealth, your body, and even your time. Because your tongue is the easiest way to destroy all of them. Silence is not cowardice. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not passiveness. Silence is strategic protection. When you stay silent, you protect your relationships from unnecessary cracks. You protect your heart from unnecessary exposure. You protect your reputation from unnecessary stains. You protect your blessings from unnecessary eyes. And here's the part people don't like to hear. Silence protects you from your own self, from your own impulsiveness, your own anger, your own ego, your own insecurity. Allah knows how emotional you are. He knows how quickly words slip out when you're angry, tired, overwhelmed, or hurt. So He gives you the simple tool, silence, to help you control yourself before you ruin something you'll spend months trying to repair. Look at any conflict. Family arguments, broken friendships, ruined marriages, workplace drama, all of them escalated because someone felt the need to respond, to explain, to defend, to prove their point. Had one person stayed silent at the right moment, the fire would have died before burning the house down. And silence doesn't just protect you in conflict, it protects you from jealousy. People envy what they hear, not what they don't know. The moment you speak about your blessings, your plans, your wins, your progress, you invite eyes and hearts into something Allah told you to keep hidden until He completes it. Silence protects your blessings from being contaminated by negative intentions. It also protects your spiritual state. Every unnecessary word is a weight on your soul. Every argument lowers your barakah. Every complaint distances you from gratitude. Every careless comment darkens the heart slightly. Silence keeps your heart clean. Clean hearts hear Allah more clearly. And here's the deeper layer. Silence forces you to speak to Allah before you speak to people. When you stay quiet, your heart automatically turns inward. You begin to process with Allah instead of processing with creation. And when you take your worries, your questions, your pain, your plans to Him first, He aligns your thoughts, calms your heart, and guides your speech. By the time you do speak, your words are purified. They carry wisdom, not emotion. They carry sincerity, not ego. They carry calmness, not frustration. They carry clarity, not confusion. This is why the believer is defined not by how much they talk, but by how much they restrain. The one who controls their tongue controls their destiny. The one who guards their speech guards their honor. The one who chooses silence over impulse becomes someone Allah protects in ways people could never understand. If you knew what Allah protects you from when you stay silent, you would beg Him to make you silent more often. You need to grasp this at a deeper level. Your words are not neutral. Every sentence you speak is either building something in your life or breaking something. There is no middle ground. That's why the Prophet ﷺ didn't say speak good or try your best. He said speak good or remain silent. It's a command because Allah knows how powerful your speech is and how destructive it becomes when it's unfiltered. Most people talk because they feel pressured to respond, pressured to defend themselves, pressured to fill silence, pressured to prove something. But a believer who truly understands Allah's wisdom speaks with purpose, not pressure. They don't treat words like water flowing without direction. They treat them like arrows released only when they know exactly where they're going. You need to accept a hard truth. Not everything you want to say is worth saying. Just because a thought sits in your mind doesn't mean it deserves to come out. Just because an opinion feels important doesn't mean it carries value. Just because you feel strongly doesn't mean speaking will produce benefit. The measure of your speech is simple. Will Allah reward this sentence or will I regret it? Most people don't ask that question. So they walk through life, leaving verbal damage behind them. Little insults, careless jokes, sarcastic replies, impatient comments, pointless arguments, emotional outbursts, unnecessary confessions, exaggerated stories, meaningless conversations. None of it brings goodness, none of it brings barakah, none of it brings you closer to Allah, but all of it gets recorded, all of it leaves a mark. A single comment can crush someone's confidence. A single slip can ruin someone's reputation. A single argument can poison a relationship. A single complaint can kill your own gratitude. A single harsh word can darken your heart for days. A single gossip-filled moment can put sin on your scale that you'll beg Allah to erase later. Speech is not light, speech is weight. Every letter drops somewhere either on the scale of reward or the scale of regret. And Allah, in His mercy, gives you a simple filter. If your words do not benefit your dunya or your akhirah, your silence is better. You want to know why some people seem wise even when they speak rarely? Because their silence removes all the noise that ruins most people's lives. They don't involve themselves in trivial debates. They don't comment on every issue. They don't voice every emotion. They don't expose their intentions. They don't react to provocation. They speak only when their words carry purpose. Their silence is not emptiness, it is strength. It is self-respect. It is spiritual maturity. And Allah elevates those people. People trust them more. People value their words more. People feel safer around them. Why? Because everyone knows that when they speak, it's intentional, it's sincere, and it's meaningful. Their speech has weight because their silence has discipline. Now look at the opposite kind of person, the one who talks without thinking. They exhaust themselves, they exhaust others, they create misunderstandings, drama, and tension. Wherever they go, their relationships suffer, their peace suffers, their dignity suffers, their heart becomes polluted with constant noise, their life is filled with problems that could have been avoided simply by closing their mouth. When Allah tells you to speak good or remain silent, He's not limiting you, He's freeing you from unnecessary burdens. He's giving you a way to live cleanly, peacefully, safely, a life where you don't have to constantly repair the damage caused by your own tongue. Before you speak, pause. Before you reply, breathe. Before you argue, ask yourself, what reward is there in this? Before you express emotion, let your heart settle. Before you share your blessings, secure them with gratitude. Before you expose your struggles, take them to Allah first. If speaking will increase goodness, clarity, kindness, justice, honesty, wisdom, or connection, then speak. If speaking will increase sin, chaos, ego, conflict, jealousy, confusion, or regret, then silence is your obligation. Your voice can be a tool of barakah or a weapon of destruction. Your tongue can elevate you or humiliate you. Your speech can write your reward or write your downfall. But the choice is always yours. If you want control over your life, start by controlling your words. Because the one who controls their tongue has already controlled their heart, their mind, and their destiny. And the one who lets their tongue run wild will spend their life cleaning up the mess it creates. Ya Allah, cleanse our tongues from words that bring regret. Purify our hearts from emotions that push us towards sin. Make our silence a source of wisdom, protection, and reward. Guard us from speaking in anger, pride, or frustration. Save us from exposing ourselves to those who wish us harm. Grant us the strength to stay silent when silence is better, and the courage to speak only when our words please you. Ya Allah, shield our blessings from the eyes of envy, shield our intentions from corruption, and shield our hearts from the weight of unnecessary speech. Make our tongues truthful, beneficial, and gentle. Let every word we speak be guided by your light, and let every silence we keep be a form of worship to you. Forgive the slips of our tongues, erase the sins of our speech, and let our last words in this world be words that bring us closer to you. Ameen.